We interrupt this program to give you a special announcement. The Toon Goons are now going to talk about Freakazoid.
This has been a goof from Freakazoid.
A good day?
Right, so Freakazoid, for those of you who don't know what the fuck we're talking about, is
Shame. Shame on you.
I honestly, I don't blame you.
Tooch does.
Tooch does, I don't.
All are punished!
Okay.
Alright, Shakespeare. The show is basically the spiritual successor to Animaniacs. It's actually, like, spiritual successor is too vague. It's the sequel.
It's the sequel, Tiny Toons, Animaniacs, Freakazoid.
Yeah, it's the tail end of the Spielberg trilogy of his good produced cartoons. Then
the Kids WB.
Yeah, well, there were 3.5 because
Pinky and the Brain
spun off into its own.
But there was also Hysteria, which was dumb.
Yeah. Well, they were all siblings.
I remember Hysteria being great, but I haven't watched it in a long time.
Well, me neither. I just assumed it was dumb since it was, like, later. And it was like...
No, I actually remember...
Everything after Freakazoid was shit!
I remember...
Basically!
I remember Hysteria being really funny. But...
Are you trying to not say hysterical?
Maybe we'll do an episode of Hysteria later on.
No, I actually... I guess I avoid those kinds of speech patterns so innately I didn't even think to say that. But no, yeah, I haven't seen Hysteria since it was on, and I was like in 3rd grade. But I remember thinking it was great.
Anyway, Freakazoid is, in that family. So if you haven't seen it and you like Animaniacs, you should probably watch it. Especially now that you're grown up, you'll like it even more.
Yeah.
The show was created by Bruce Timm and Paul Dini. They're most famous for Batman, Superman, all that stuff.
DC animated universe.
Yeah, but Steven Spielberg, after seeing Batman, approached them and was like, "Hey, I want you to make a new cartoon, but I want to be a superhero." And they're like, "Okay, we know how to do that. We've done that." And he's like, "Make an original superhero, whatever." So, they sketched out all this shit, went through all this stuff, but didn't really pan out because Steven wanted another screwball comedy. And Tim and Dini don't really do that. Like, they do comedy sometimes, but that's not really their focus.
They were doing, an action show.
Yeah,
primarily.
An action adventure with some comedy in it.
Yeah.
But Steven, the more they talked to him, the more he was like, no, I want it to be funny. So they're like, you know what? Here's all the stuff that we came up with. You could take this. That's fine. We're going to go back to doing what we're good at. And, you find someone who's more in tune with what you want.
In tune.
So they found the guys behind Animaniacs.
Yes.
Again.
Again.
I mean, they were right there.
I don't know why Steven didn't go to them first, but
Probably because, like Dini and Tim were, like, the cartoon superhero people, and Steven Spielberg only deals with the best of the best, at least at the time.
Yeah, but he wanted a comedic superhero. So, those guys, what are their names? Paul Rugg.
No, Paul... Yeah, Paul Rugg.
Paul Rugg and,
Paul Rugger? There was a guy whose name was Rugger.
Yeah.
Christ. Oh, Tom
Rugger. Tom Ruger.
They had all this art and shit, and they had to pick up the pieces, and they're like, okay, we literally have maybe a month to make this into a show. Like, they were pressed for time from the beginning. What are all these things? What's this guy? His name's Freakazoid? Okay, he's the main character. Like, they had all these assets and had to make a show out of it in very limited amount of time.
This is going to be a recurring theme as we talk about the history of the show, of the creators just barely knowing what they're doing.
Oh, they never knew what they were doing, and they still had no idea what they were doing. So the show is about a superhero called Freakazoid. If you might have seen, if you haven't watched the show, you might have seen him around the internet. He's the guy in the red jumpsuit with the blue skin and like the lightning Bride of Frankenstein hair. Like when I was a kid, I didn't watch Freakazoid, but I kind of had an inkling that he was a thing, but I thought he was for adults, which honestly wasn't too far off.
Yeah.
Honestly, the thing the internet's gonna know more than Freakazoid is Candlejack.
I guess.
And I've also seen
he's a meme.
And I've also seen Fanboy used as visual shorthand.
I've seen Fanboy a lot. He was a character.
I haven't. I wish he was I wish he was more of a meme. He's perfect.
Well, I really only seen him on Movie Bob stuff.
Oh yeah. That's not the. That wasn't the coining of that term, was it?
No.
No. That was the joke.
Yeah, I thought so.
Freakazoid. He's a superhero, but he's not your typical superhero. He's wacky. The show was made in, I believe it was 1995 to 1997, so a very short window.
Yeah, two seasons, I think.
24 episodes.
Yeah.
24.
Very much of its time, but also not.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. It was simultaneously really ahead of its time and sort of its approach, but so many of the references and jokes and pop culture stuff is so dated looking back.
Part of it being of its time was the whole origin of Freakazoid. We know this in the theme song.
Which is composed by Richard Stone and is therefore fantastic.
Yeah, that guy is awesome. The origin of Freakazoid is that Dexter Douglas, nerd computer ace,
surfing on the internet and got zapped in cyberspace, he turned into the Freakazoid.
Strong and
super quick.
He drives the villains crazy because
he's a lunatic.
That's gonna sync up so poorly in.
Oh yeah.
Sync it in editing, you editor.
It's dated because Dexter's a computer geek, and that's like a thing in the 90s. Like he uses a computer.
He's a nerd. He's got glasses,
and he's all nasally.
And he probably says, "According to my calculations," when he's not calculating anything.
And he wears cargo shorts.
Can I just say? Like, really quick diversion, but this made me think of it. That's one of my critiques of the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, which I saw.
Yeah.
They literally made Donatello Dexter Douglas.
Yeah,
They gave him glasses for no reason.
I heard about that.
And he said, according to my calculations. Ooh, it was the worst. Anyway, the movie actually not that terrible.
But Dexter actually didn't say, according to my calculations. He just, fiddling around on the internet.
Yeah.
But because of reasons, he ended up downloading the entirety of the internet into his brain, and through that manifested a second persona, the Freakazoid, who instead of being super smart, because he has all the information of the internet, he's just a goofball that quotes pop culture and slapstick and acts like a living cartoon, and sometimes saves the world, but most of the time just gets ice cream with the police officer.
With Ed Asner.
They're besties.
Ed Asner's in... We're going to talk about some of the cast, because that's crazy.
Well, let's move on to the characters.
Yeah, Freakazoid is voiced by Paul Rugg, who, if you're familiar with Animaniacs, is most famous for voicing Mr. Director.
But he's
the Fried Laven guy.
Nice lady, I'm Jerry Lewis, but I can't say that on the show because of his name. He wouldn't like it. We're making fun of him.
But he's mainly a writer guy. The reason why he became Freakazoid was because, a lot of reasons why you'll have creators voicing on the show. They didn't have time to find a guy. They literally went through an entire audition. They filled up the room, emptied the room, hated everybody. They thought they all sucked because the character is really hard to pin down. He's... you will say that, he's kind of schizophrenic. He's got, kind of multiple personalities. He doesn't. I think the best way to sum him up as a character is that he's a comedian with multiple bits and characters that are always kind of fighting for attention to get the next goof in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
That's what he's like. And a lot of people didn't get that. A lot of people tried to make him all creepy or made him more like a Robin Williams performance because Robin Williams was very big then.
And actually, that description that you said is kind of Robin Williams. Some of his stand-up is his own bits stepping over each other. And, we didn't mention this. That is a news thing. Robin Williams tragically passed away in the past week. And he has done voice work in animation, most famously Genie in Aladdin, and to much less notable extent, Batty from Fern Gully.
Yeah.
Is he in anything else good?
Cartoon-wise?
Must have been.
Yeah.
He was in Aladdin's 1 and 3.
He was in a lot of stuff. But, basically, having such a huge presence, everybody was mimicking him, and that's not exactly what they wanted. And, in the booth, Paul Rugg was the one giving the directions, and eventually everybody's like, why don't you just fucking do it? So he auditioned that day, and like most of his audition was actually used in the first episode.
Yeah, it's just improvised.
Like there's when Dexter first turns into Freakazoid in the first episode, Freakazoid's like, "Hello, everybody! I'm in the show.
I'm here on the show."
And that sounds exactly like something a guy who's never voice acted before would say when he's warming up to do a voice.
He's never voice acted and is doing a character who they barely have anything written for.
Yeah. So
that's Robin Williams was Fender in Robots.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right.
And he was in Happy Feet.
Okay.
And then we have the Douglas family. My favorite member is, of course, Debbie Douglas, the mom, voiced by Tress MacNeille.
That's so very, very sad.
Yeah, Tress MacNeille, who is obviously in this show because it's a Steven Spielberg cartoon. And frankly, deserves to be in it because she's incredible.
Tress MacNeille is amazing.
She's
so
a
fun.
National treasure.
This mom, she's your typical domestic mom who's pretends that she doesn't notice anything going on and has this permanent, like
Botox
Botox smile. Then there's the dad, Douglas, voiced by John P. McCann.
Voiced by Senator John McCain.
McCann. Then there's Duncan, the older brother, voiced by Googie Gress. He doesn't have a link on Wikipedia. I don't know who he is. He's just
that might be vandalism.
It
We'll have
could
to check
be.
that.
Googie!
I have no idea. He doesn't do much. And then Mr. Chubbykins, who is their morbidly obese cat, who is orange, but in the season finale they accidentally made him white. He is voiced by Frank Welker.
Oh my god, Googie Gress is so real, and he has this giant IMDb filmography.
Oh my god.
That's beautiful.
I'm gonna have to...
Mr. Chubbykins is significant because he is responsible for giving Dexter his powers.
Yes.
From walking across the keyboard.
For just walking across the keyboard while chasing a butterfly. Then we have Sergeant Mike Cosgrove, who's voiced by Edward Asner.
The real actor.
The real guy.
He looks like Ed Asner. They basically drew Ed Asner.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is also the same thing that happened in Up.
Yes.
We used to live next to a guy who looked exactly like Carl Fredricksen.
Yeah, we did. Only his wife is alive.
I mean, yeah, good for him.
Wow.
Why are you making fun of Carl Fredricksen?
Oh, no. Yeah, Cosgrove is Freakazoid's best friend. He is the head police officer. He's this really nice old guy who's always inviting Freakazoid to go do something, like go to the fair or get a mint or, I don't know, see a movie.
That was a good mint.
Want to see a bear ride a unicycle?
Do I?
Pigs are smarter than bears, but they can't ride unicycles.
He's really good at getting people to stop shit. Like, he'll say, like, cut it out, or cut that out.
Hey, cut that out. Everybody's just like, oh.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that they got Ed Asner in the booth, and he's like acting, and he's like, no, Ed, Mr. Asner. Deadpan it. Stop acting.
No acting. Just read the lines. We're gonna make you say dumb crap. Just do it. Phone it in. We want you to phone it in.
Yeah, like the way I was just saying it, like that's how he talks.
And part of the directing they did is whenever they got somebody cool like Ed Asner or another character we're gonna get to, they just purposely made them say really silly words just to the goof of making this actor say a silly thing.
Yeah.
And Cosgrove says a lot of silly things. Then we have Roddy McStew, voiced by Craig Ferguson.
Oh my god, it was Craig Ferguson, wasn't it?
Yes,
he
it
is just
was.
every Scotsman.
Yes. He's Freakazoid's mentor. He's an ill-tempered Scotsman who was in the whole episode where we figured out where the heck Freakazoid came from and his origin, and he's just this angry Scottish dude that created the chip that turned Dexter into Freakazoid, and now they're like pals. Kind of. I mean, they kind of use characters as they need them and then get rid of them and then,
like McStew's usually used for exposition dumps, which is something they addressed in that last episode. It's like, you have a lot of lines in this episode.
Yeah. The only other, like, main character that we see more than once, I believe, is Steph, voiced by Tracy Rowe, who's Freakazoid's girlfriend.
I thought she was Candy Milo.
That's not what this says.
Alright.
But it could be. Who knows? I'm gonna say it's Tracy Rowe. She's just his girlfriend character. She can be kind of funny, though.
Yeah.
Oh, no, she's great. I like Steph.
I love Steph, too. And then there's a million other characters that are all
a recurring character from season 2 is Professor Jones, voiced by Jonathan Harris of Lost in Space fame, playing the same character he played in Lost in Space.
Oh, yeah.
Which they invited him onto the show because the creators really liked Lost in Space, and they wanted him to be the guy.
From Lost in Space. Yeah, he
basically
plays...
being proto-Family Guy.
Yeah,
And, like, getting famous people on just to do their old character.
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays Freakazoid's second butler.
His first butler, Ingmar,
was mute, so he has no voice actor.
He's mute, you know.
And then, recurring villains. We have the Lobe, voiced by David Warner.
The best villain.
Yeah, he's basically Freakazoid's arch enemy. He's so fun.
he's a brainhead man.
So great. And he's like such a diva, and
Yeah.
he just wants to be the best, and he's so self-conscious.
He reenacts the entire scene from Hello Dolly.
Like, spoiler alert, that's gonna be what I say my favorite episode is.
Yeah, that episode is actually the only one I saw as a kid.
Oh, I love it so much. I knew that before I knew Hello Dolly, and then I listened to Hello Dolly and was like, wait a fucking minute. Like, it's his Oui Bonjour Lobie.
Yeah. Loeb, he's an evil genius. He's super smart. He's also a dumbass. He's really
petty.
Lovable.
He's super petty.
Sometimes even Freakazoid feels bad for him.
Oh
Just
yeah,
great.
no. Freakazoid is essentially like superhero Clarence. Like, he has no animosity toward the Loeb. He just really plays with him, and then when shit gets too real, he's like, "Oh no, don't worry, Loeb. You're a good villain. You really mean that?"
Yeah. Freakazoid just, he's a superhero, but, very laid back kind of way. Just like, don't rob this bank, but I might get distracted.
He can fly, he just doesn't. He just zooms around making whoosh noises.
Yeah.
He runs at total normal human speed.
Yeah, he'll move his arms in the air and goes but he actually can do like a zappy electronic cyberspace thing.
Yeah,
He also has a car.
Yeah,
for some reason.
The Freakmobile.
The
He's
Freakmobile.
like, it's toyetic.
Other recurring villain, we have Cave Guy, who's the first villain that we ever saw. Yeah. I subscribe to the New Yorker.
That was an incredible impression, dude.
I'm sorry I talked over it.
We got 2 different audio tracks.
Oh, okay. Anyway, he is a big caveman thing who's also very smart.
And cultured.
We've got Cobra Queen. Oh, Cave Guy's voiced by Jeff Bennett, impersonating Jim Backus. Cobra Queen is also voiced by Tress MacNeille. She's this snake lady with 2 giant snakes.
And she lives in the sewer.
She lives in the sewer.
She's basically she's basically the equivalent of like a one-off Silver Age villain from comic books that you never hear from again.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Candlejack, which is a favorite, voiced by Jeff Bennett. But one of the most stupendous villains is Freakazoid's, like, ultimate bad guy. Like, he's the most serious threat you're ever gonna have on Freakazoid. Armando Gutierrez. Voiced by Ricardo Montalban.
Yes.
Doing con bits constantly.
Basically being
Laugh
con.
with me.
I am not a weenie. Stop saying the weenie word.
Yes, that was the best one. God damn.
It's you who are the weenie.
Yeah, it's like we said about having real important actors just say the dumbest things, and Gutierrez is the best incarnation of it.
And he rolls with it.
Oh my, he's so into it.
He's so great.
I mean, there's a lot of characters. The basic format of the show is a lot like Animaniacs in that they do these weird segments, and they kind of never really end, or they do, but not well, and then they sort of just phase into another one, and there's all these weird interruptions. There's a narrator who will interrupt and say random shit. There's a censor lady who will interrupt and say, "This show is too violent!"
It's basically Monty Python in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes they'll do a Paul Harvey skit.
Sometimes they'll put live action footage for no reason.
Yeah, like archived footage.
Yeah, like,
Of
it's
F-Troop.
all over the place. And a lot of that is because, again, they were always pressed for time. So, like, we can do small bits, and then we fill it up with shit. And then that's our show. Listening to these guys talk about making the show, they're just like, how did we even do this? How did they pay us?
Yeah, I mean, it is a sad thing that the show only got 2 seasons. It's a miracle it got 2 seasons. It's a miracle it got picked up at all. The show is extremely weird, and, like, here's the thing. There's kind of no discernible audience for it.
No, I have no idea who it was for. It was for them.
It was for me.
Yeah,
My
like,
favorite show.
Yeah, like, it really is just for, like, people like us, which is to say...
Adults who like cartoons.
Young adults who love cartoons.
And like laughing, because you will laugh. Your jaw will be on the ground, and you'll be like, the fuck? It is, like, Dadaist, surreal. This humor is, like, its own specific brand. Like, you think you know what you're getting into. Like, oh, I've seen Animaniacs. I know what No, sorry. It is its own universe of ridiculousness.
Yeah, it's just pure, unfiltered... It's basically like an entire series of like 60 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, like they literally did make shit up as they went along. Like,
the first episode...
hours before they had to turn in the tape.
Low bridge, everybody down! And it's to the 20-second interlude of nothing.
Yeah, pretty much all of Freakazoid's dialogue in the first episode was improvised. And Paul Rudd improvised it just like as a audition type thing. He had no idea it was going to be in the episode. And he's like, I'm sorry to the animators who had to animate me doing all that stupid stuff I said in private.
Like, but they would actually be like, when they had to turn in their final tape, like, they had just finished the episode when they turned in their tape. Like, this wasn't like, okay, we've got a production schedule, we know. No, they were like, oh my god, you guys.
It's a cartoon now.
It was a real fly-by-night rigmarole. But yeah, like, they would put in goofs. Like, it's ostensibly supposed to be a kid show, and even an older skewing kid show. Like, kids closer to, like, 10 to 12 or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, they had this huge bit with Jack Valenti, president of the Motion Picture Association of America, just like, explaining the rating system. Like, who's the audience for this?
And they actually got Jack Valenti to
I think the audience for that was Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, I think they just made it for Steven. And, like, Steven, anytime they'd be like, yep, that's good. You can do it. I like it. They sent them a memo. He sent the show a memo. Like, I really like Freakazoid a lot. You guys are doing great work. And they, like, framed it and talked about it in the show a lot.
Your Spielberg impression is impeccable.
Oh, thank you.
He's like a jolly fat guy. I am Steven Spielberg.
And
as opposed to George Lucas' impression, which is a disgruntled fat guy. It's like, I don't think that there's anything wrong with Jar Jar Binks. The aliens and Indiana Jones was completely justified. That's my George Lucas.
And like in Animaniacs, Spielberg does show up in the show a lot.
Voiced by
Frank
Welker.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's who they made the show for. They're like, if Steven likes it, it goes on the air.
That was basically why, like, the Animaniacs was so perfect, and Tiny Toons was so great, because Steven, like, they would literally everybody would just send him memos, and he would approve scripts and make notes and do everything. So Steven ran those shows, basically, without even being in the studio.
Yeah, he had a very laissez-faire approach to it. Like, he produced it or whatever, but he just let these crazy, insano, very talented kind of unhinged people make great work, and it's like, I'm glad to be a patron. I am a patron of the arts. I am Steven Spielberg.
He made the mistake. He made the what some might call a mistake of trusting them. I'm sure they thought that was a mistake.
Warner Brothers thought it was a mistake.
Oh yeah, that's why they kept moving around their time slot.
Yeah, that's another reason why this show, it obviously failed to find much of an audience because the show is just so weird. And also, Warner Brothers had no faith in it from the jump and kept putting it on in different time slots. They put it on like at 6:30 on Saturday mornings.
Yeah, no, not that early. I think it was like 8. The series
Saturday morning cartoon started at 8.
Yeah, this series was one of the first to debut on the New Kids WB Saturday morning block on the WB on September 9th, 1995. Yes. And then it moved all around the damn place. And it was really funny because when they were promoting the show, they had no footage to show.
They had nothing.
Nothing. Because they had all these assets. They're like, who is this character? Who is this caveman? I guess he's a cave guy? Let's call him Cave Guy.
Here's the thing. It was kind of like old anime adaptation, where they don't have any production notes. They just have to like a lot of old anime. They just watched it in Japanese. A bunch of people who don't speak Japanese watched it in Japanese, and then, like little kids, like maybe reading a picture book who can't read, they would make up the story because they just had nothing else to go with.
And that's how we got Samurai Pizza Cats.
That is exactly how we got Samurai Pizza Cats.
And so
that's
they're promotional.
Right.
They like...
But the point is, they had all this Bruce Timm art.
Yeah.
They didn't have like any of the characters or the origins or the backstories of these characters. They had to salvage it.
Yeah. I mean, Bruce Timm and Dini originally intended Freakazoid to kind of be like an anti-hero, where he's kind of crazy and kind of nutso, but, ultimately he's a good guy, but he's kind of unhinged and unstable, and it would be like an interesting action show about this guy. And you see the original artwork, the way that he's drawn, he's a lot more menacing.
Yeah, he's like, his head's a lot more hunched over, he's like,
he's got this creepy smile. So, they took that and made him into what he is today. And the way they promoted it, when they had no footage to show, they parodied luxury cruise commercials that were popular at the time.
Yeah, like this specific kind.
It was just like, the sun is bright. We're working so hard. We don't know what we're doing. Everything is coming. Panic. All at once.
Like it's backdrops of sunbathing women and palm trees and...
But at least you can look forward to the next episode of Freakazoid coming to Kids WB. And that's it! And they wouldn't tell you what the fuck the show is about. They did like 10 of these things instead of fucking writing the show.
Good.
Yeah, they probably knocked them all out in one afternoon.
Yeah.
I hope.
Oh my god. I can't imagine, tuning in and seeing that and being like, what?
Especially as a kid.
As a kid, and like, what is this show? What is this lady? Why is she talking like this? The text would like scroll on the screen and then fade away. Ugh.
Yeah, a brand of humor that's really, was really ahead of its time. Like you'll see, and it's like, it's kind of like a lot of the more hip stuff we see now, but at the same time, they're also like making fun of Barbara Streisand.
Yeah, she's a recurring character along with Princess Diana and the Clintons.
Not like as a character, but yeah, like whenever they need to do like celebrity cameos, there's only 3 women. It's Hillary Clinton, Princess Diana, and Barbara Streisand.
Those were the only 3 famous women that existed in the 90s, I guess.
But before we move on to episodes, to give credit where it's due, Dini and Tim based Freakazoid's design partly off of Madman by Mike Alfred, who kind of had a hissy fit later on and claimed controversy, they never asked me if it was okay, they blatantly used my character, blah 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 blah, pay attention to me. And then they also used a lot of they never stated this specifically, but it's the Creeper, the DC character. When they actually did an episode about the Creeper in Batman, he kind of resembled what they originally intended Freakazoid to be like.
Yeah.
Hopefully with less, misogyny and weird.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's a creeper, and yeah, he was a really enjoyable character, except he was such a slime ball to Harley.
Yeah, that wasn't cool. But yeah, like, so they kind of have a lot in common, and that was sort of the more darker feel that they originally wanted, and Steven was like, no, I don't want that. That's not funny.
Yeah, it was a season, 3 or 4 episode of Batman?
It was season 4 because of I remember the art style changes.
It was the second to last episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty good episode. All that stuff is, if you got Amazon Prime, you can stream all of Batman for free.
Or own it on DVD for, like, the past several years like I have.
Yeah. He even...
Stop bragging. Oh, I bought a DVD. Look how big my dick is.
Who voiced him?
Jeff Bennett.
Jeff Bennett voiced the Creeper. And my favorite part about that is that he quoted, Warner Brothers kids, I love you, bye-bye! I love it when he did that.
I love you, bye-bye!
Okay, I love you, bye-bye!
It's Mindy of Mindy and Buttons on the Animaniacs.
Yeah. So, we want to move on to episodes or particular segments, which could be hard to talk about, but we could try.
Yeah. Oh, one thing that we forgot to mention is that Season 1 was a bunch of vignettes and sketches. Season 2, they were just told, hey, you're doing, like, singular 22-minute bits
Yeah,
now.
they just told them. And
I guess we're gonna do that now. and the show takes on a bit of a different tone. Because it focuses on Freakazoid a lot more, and the other like ancillary characters that had their own skits in season 1 fall to the wayside, which is something that they address in a goof.
Yeah.
There are characters like the Huntsman, which is Jeff Bennett doing a Charleston Heston impression of Charleston Heston playing Robin Hood. Okay, the Huntsman is really weird. Like even for this show, it's a weird.
I love the Huntsman.
Because the Huntsman, they got its own, like, put it in the middle theme song. That's like 1minute, 90 seconds long. And then...
It's half the skit is the theme song.
Yeah, and then the goof is always, the Huntsman's like, hey, police chief, I can't do the voice, but do you have any jobs for me? No, it's been really quiet. Darn, he just gets mad that he has nothing to do.
Darn!
They animate him without moving his teeth. His teeth are perpetually clenched.
And then that's the end of the goof. It's just like, the whole point of the goof is that he's this unnecessary superhero. And it's like, this is what I'm saying, like, they play out the goof in this weird meta way that, like, they make a big deal and then there's nothing that comes of it.
Yeah.
Like, both times, there were like 2 Huntsman sketches in season 1. Both times were like, is this really it?
I'm like, ugh.
I thought this was like the first act of a skit where it's like...
Don't they bookend it with the theme song? Don't they play the theme song like twice, basically? Like,
yeah, they do.
With like the chorus of the theme song again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hunt.
And other characters that got booed in season 2 were Lord Bravery.
Which is Jeff Bennett doing John Cleese.
As a superhero.
It's basically the same concept.
Yeah, basically. He's a British superhero this time.
Don't forget the sticky buns.
Who's trying to work as a superhero and get a job as it, but it's not working out. Nobody knows who he is, and he's all about the money, and he has really overbearing in-law.
and then like it always divulges into essentially a Monty Python sketch.
Pretty much.
It's like he has a petty argument with somebody he's trying to rescue.
Fanboy was dropped as well. He tried to become Freakazoid's sidekick at one point. He's, a really big fan of all nerd ephemera.
Yeah.
And, he's supposed to be really obnoxious. But honestly, sometimes when he started talking about shit, I was like, that's really fascinating.
There was one point where they used Fanboy as a way to torture Freakazoid, and he's talking about Disney's big crash in the 80s. Yeah. And I'm like, this is fascinating.
I want to know about
Tell me more about how Something Wicked This Way Comes movie.
And how it relates to Tron or whatever.
We're Fanboy. We are all Fanboy deep down.
But the first episode with Fanboy, I felt it has the perfect illustration of how you can tell this is an old cartoon. Mm-hmm. Because there were 2 things. One, they were at this comic convention. It's like, oh, leave me alone. I'll give you this signed photo of Stan Lee. Who's that? I have no idea. Which, I mean, if this was today, everybody knows who Stan Lee was.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think most indicates that it's an old show is that George Takei was in that episode, but not voiced by himself. If that came out in the 2010s, he would have obviously voiced himself.
Yeah. And then other character that was dropped was Moron/Boron.
Yeah, at first he was Moron, and then he was Boron because because the censors were like, saying Moron is too mean.
So then they named him Boron after Boronese. What was it called?
Baroni's.
Baroni's. A pizza place they went to.
I am Boron from the planet Baroni's, which is a pizza place that they in Burbank that they would go to. That was a joke exclusively for them.
Yeah, like that's where they went when they had their last episode. They had their sad Baroni's pizza party.
Christ.
Oh my gosh. So like, yeah, the first season is very much skit based. And, like, the dynamics are a bit different. Like, I noticed that the dynamic between Dexter and Freakazoid is different between seasons. Like, in season 1, it feels like they're two different people inhabiting the same body and, like, competing for time. Like, Freakazoid has the Freakazone inside Dexter's head, where he's just...
I think was literally one episode.
It was just one episode. They throw out concepts. If they don't want to use them, they don't use them again. But it did feel more like Dexter and Freakazoid weren't the same person, whereas in the second season, it did feel more like they were the same person. Because when Freakazoid was talking about Dexter, he wouldn't say Dexter, he would say I. Or like, that's my family, that's my, I'm on a date, even though he's as Dexter. Like, it seemed like they were the same person versus two different personalities, which was different. I watched the first season, like, oh, they're just two different people, and you see Freakazoid more, because he's more interesting. And
like
then
Hulk.
And then the second season, like, no, they're just the same guy, they're just different sides of the same guy. Which,
like the Hulk.
Made the show a little bit different, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's talk about the Dance of Doom.
The Dance of Doom is the first episode. Where do we even start with this?
The Dance of Doom might be the single funniest thing ever aired on television.
Yeah. And it's actually very tonally different from the rest of the show.
It is.
If they would have continued with that tone, the show would have been, I think, very different and even less popular. But I loved it. Yeah, it's because, all of Freakazoid's dialogue in that is improvised. And I love, we talked about this with Rick and Morty, I love improvisation in animation because it requires a weird degree of dedication on the part of everybody else.
Yeah. Everybody else has to be on board for this bizarre performance and actually go through the motions of animating it and bringing it to life. Like, his whole spiel, which, I mean, quoting it would be one thing, but it doesn't capture the beauty,
really
the
doesn't.
majesty. Like, you just need to watch it. Like, if you watch that and you are not into it, then you are not gonna like this fucking show. I'll tell you that right away.
And I'm not gonna like you.
No, yeah,
I mean, it's unbelievably hilarious. It's basically, Freakazoid is fighting Cave Guy. Cave Guy takes school dance hostage. Freakazoid makes his debut, and it's just, again, like the comedian going from character to character to character to character, without any transition between them. Just doing whatever, and everybody there is just like, okay. And it's just the funniest damn thing ever. My God.
Yeah, it's kind of indescribable. Like, you really just have to see this one.
My favorite bit from that specific episode, and, like, it was one that I appreciate, like, it made me realize, because it didn't become my favorite until after I had rewatched it, after I got the DVDs. I was like, I love this show as a kid, I gotta watch it again. And I was like, oh my god, like, this show is now a million times funnier than even when it was for me as a child, because my favorite line was when he was going around and bad-mouthing all the girls who turned down Dexter for the date, and he was like, I hope something really bad happens to you, like you get a zit before a picture day, or you have to eat off the same plate as David Lee Roth.
Yeah, there's
and
there's either one of the girls or that creepy guy who turned beavers into gold.
Yeah, Jeepers.
I think that may have actually been targeted at Jeepers, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was one of the girls.
All right.
And that episode also had the Ed Wood reference. That's another thing about this show. If they watched a movie recently, they'll just make jokes about it in the episode, whether you care about it or not. There's an episode down the line that's like all Congo references.
Yeah, they just the characters go to see Congo, and Cosgrove can't tell what part is the real gorilla, what part's the puppet. And they're yelling at us like, is that the gorilla? No, that's the puppet. Alright, is that the puppet too? No, that's a real gorilla.
That's the guy in the suit or something like that.
And the other sketch in this first episode, Handman, also introduces this concept that they won't end shit when it should end.
The commentary for Handman kills me because even the creatives are so done with it. It's like, okay, this is the 5th time we could have ended this sketch.
The commentary, honestly, if you're gonna watch this show, please buy the DVDs, not just to show support because the show's long gone, but for the commentary, man. It's just more episode.
It is. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And a lot of what we're using as background information is from the DVD. That's kind of the best source we got.
Yeah, for such an unpopular, culty show, it was a pretty good DVD.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And it's got the whole thing. And then, when we talk about Candlejack, which is a fan favorite.
It has the Screamo-Vision bit.
Screamo-Vision.
Scream.
I want to talk about Toby Danger, which...
Oh my god.
Which is the base... It's basically...
It's Johnny Quest parody. Freakazoid's not in it. Nobody's in it. It's just fucking Johnny Quest lookalikes.
It's Venture Brothers 10 plus years earlier.
Yeah.
It's pitch perfect.
And they animate it the same way. They lay the shots out the exact same way they would have done it back then. The attention to detail in this recreation is pretty amazing for such a shitty show.
Yeah. Visually, it's an even more successful parody of Johnny Quest than Venture Brothers is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so insanely funny. I wish that we could say something more intelligent. It's really funny, you guys. But yeah, just so clever, just so out there. The jokes that they end up pulling out of there,
the barrel.
The guy's always fights by just throwing a barrel at somebody.
But if you're a Johnny Quest fan or your parents were or whatever, you need to sit them down and watch it with...
What decade was Johnny Quest? Was that...
60s or 70s, wasn't it?
Yes.
I'm gonna say 60s.
I was gonna guess...
Yeah, it was 1964 to 65, because if it was the 70s, the concept would have been even more weird.
Yeah.
70s television animation was basically, I hate using that cliche, this cartoon's on acid. 70s were on acid, because it was the 70s.
It was kind of in the air, all the people who were doing acid sweated into the air, so everybody kind of physically osmosed it. What else was good?
But yeah, it's a must-see if you're into Johnny Quest or you know anybody who watched Johnny Quest. They'll get a kick out of it. It'll make their day, trust me.
Yeah.
Everything is so, it's sketches, little bits and pieces. We can't really talk about specific episodes without ruining it for you. And not in the spoilery way, but it's hard to talk about comedy. We haven't yet talked about a show that is purely comedy based.
No, because a lot of the newer comedy cartoons, they're last time. Last time we did Gravity Falls, which is a very, very funny show, but it's also at the same time successfully balancing a lot of other hats and plates. Maybe both. I'm not sure what
hats
metaphors.
On plates.
Sure.
Yeah, plates wearing hats.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Adventure Time. It's the same with Steven. Not so much Wander, but
yeah, even Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas, this, and also, Animaniacs, which people have requested that we do, and I wonder if there's actually that much left to say about Animaniacs. Obviously, we love it. It's impossible not to.
The show is just pure television gold. Period. End of story. It's amazing.
Yeah.
This show deserves to be talked about a little bit more because nobody watched it.
Nobody watched it, and it's... Animaniacs' humor is pretty easy to identify. It's brilliant, but it's pretty straightforward. This show's weird. This show doesn't make any sense at any juncture. And not even it's so random. It's That's not what I mean by it doesn't make any sense.
It's not even random, though.
What I mean by it doesn't make any sense is, why would they make this? This has no audience.
Dude, this show, like, is literally one of the instrumental factors in shaping me who I am today. Like, watching this as a child. So, I love it so much.
And, you know, we mentioned Movie Bob earlier, but, like, he had a good point in that Freakazoid is a much more accurate depiction of what somebody who has all the power of the internet would be like.
Yeah.
If it really works today because Freakazoid is the internet.
It was very prescient because the internet wasn't anything in 1995. It was a bunch of broken JPEGs.
Type commands. Enter code to access the internet shit. Like, fuck that. There was no mouse. You couldn't click shit.
You could click shit. Windows 95 came out in 1995, as you might be able to put together.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think Dexter was working with something more low-tech than 95, though, because he had to type everything.
Yeah, he was using like a DOS type dealeroo.
The show was only rebroadcasted from... After the show ended, it was picked up by Cartoon Network and then rebroadcasted from April 1997 until March 2003.
That's when I watched it, basically.
That was it.
Yeah,
you had the original run and the one rebroadcast. That was it.
Yeah, like they rebroadcasted it and still nobody watched it.
Except me.
Except for Tooch. And I saw the first episode of Season 2, Dexter's Date. It's a really good episode.
Oof, it's so good.
That's a Hello Dolly one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, you had a funny bit about that musical number.
Oh, if I was a kid, I think I didn't finish watching the episode because of that song. I was like, this is boring. I don't want to watch this.
That song is like 6 minutes long.
The song
It's
is the
so
whole episode.
good! And then, like, they said that, like, that little, like, ticker at the bottom with, like, names and stuff of people calling in to donate money, and it's like, Yakko Warner, $1.
Yeah, like, but as a kid,
that's
I never
actually...
liked musicals, so I was like, this is boring!
Because the joke is just that they're doing Hello Dolly. It's not like there's any particularly humorous lyrics or antics going on in the song.
Yeah, it's just the Lobe dancing and singing.
And then Freakazoid turns into Louis Armstrong, and everybody just goes with it. Oui, bonjour, Lobe, how you doing, Lobe?
Overall that episode was really good.
But yeah, that's something that they started doing more in season 2. It's like you're doing half-hour bits. All right, we got to start padding.
Okay, entire musical number. Go! Yes! And this show also sort of introduced the, like, find that character in the background thing that Adventure Time has with, like, the snail. With Emmett Nervend, who's this just bizarre man. With teeth and Shel Silverstein hair. You'll know him when you see him. It's a game to try to see all of him. And at the end of the episode, in the credits, they'll tell you how many times he appeared in the episode.
And they also did like little stinger messages at the end of
Yes!
episodes, like
Yes, it goes by so fast. It's so hard to pause.
Oh yeah.
I paused all of them, and then because then there was that one that was like 3 paragraphs long, and it was like this story about all the writers getting abducted by aliens or something.
Yeah, we missed most of them.
So much. Because the show just throws you for a loop. The whole time you're watching it, it's just like, and then laughing, and then like you can't believe what you're watching.
Yeah.
So the last thing I think to do is read the credits.
Yeah.
But you should read the credits.
Freakazoid will give like a little stinger, like a 2-second joke at the end. Oh, so great.
Oh my god, they're so funny.
One of my favorite ones was the one with Moron, where he just like opens his mouth to talk and it's like, oh.
Nope.
And then there's recurring character names. We don't even get to see the characters.
They don't exist.
The Hopping Woman, Weena Mercator.
Weena Mercator as the Hopping Woman. Like in the beginning of what was that episode called? The one that was the Hitchhawk. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the...
They had a Hitchcock opening. It was one of the episodes where they saw the scientist, the monster scientist. Yeah, she was in that opening. She was the Cloud. That was
the Cloud. Yeah,
Cloud.
It's just like they do fake credits, and the last one is always and featuring Weena Mercator as a Hopping Woman.
And they never ever.
And like a lot of the names they made up, it's kind of like Homestar Runnery. Like
Emmett Nervin, Lonnie Talbot. Like, just weird names.
For the record, my favorite made-up Homestar Runner name was Timothy Timmers Ballthrow.
Oh, you guys, they parodied Gargoyles. Remember that?
With the gnomes?
With the lawn gnomes.
Yeah.
And not even, like, there was a scene where Freakazoid was just on a gargoyle. The guy came alive and he was like, you go back to sleep or whatever. It's like, oh, I'm leaving. Like... They parodied everything. New shit, old shit, shit that no kid would ever care about. Like...
Yeah.
Like Paul Harvey.
That's... Because, like, that was in the commentary for, like, Dexter's Day. Everyone was just like, oh, yeah, Hello Dolly. The kids love it. That's exactly what the kids want. Hello Dolly parodies, yeah.
Yeah. The narrator is a character. Like, we actually get to
Which
see...
I feel was a more novel gag at the time. Like, now, like, it's still funny now because it's just so well written. But the idea of, like, the narrator being like, it's like SpongeBob did that a bit, too.
Even Space Dandy does that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where I'm not gonna, sit here and say that Freakazoid was definitely the first cartoon to do that, but I do think it was a newer concept.
But they really gave him a personality, and they actually gave him a character, like, a drawn character
model
that would show up and interact with the characters and be like, hi guys, I'm taking some acting lessons. I want you to hear how I'm doing.
Oh, and also for the finale,
it's really sad.
it is sad. They ended on a really
bittersweet
musical number. Hold on.
It was the number from the end of
It was the ending from Doctor Strangelove, We'll Meet Again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We'll meet again somewhere with our friends.
But that episode guest starred Norm Abrams, who is some carpenter on TV, one of those home improvement guys like Bob Vila.
Yeah.
Just because they really like him. I thought Bob Vila was this old house.
I mean, maybe
Who cares?
They got multiple hosts.
Whatever.
Who
Who cares about carpenters?
Yeah, they've had.
They brought that dude on, and he couldn't act for shit. Like, he was so bad.
Yeah.
But
they gave him like the best action sequences of like the entire show. That was supposed to be a superhero show.
Yeah, so they're saying like in the booth for that episode they had Norm Abrams, Ed Asner, the guy from Lost in Space, who's Jonathan Harris.
Yeah.
Jonathan Harris and Ricardo Montalban just all hanging out.
And David Warner voiced Loeb. David Warner's a successful actor who voiced the Loeb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were all just there, like hanging out, being buds. Oh, you know who also had a guest appearance? Tim Curry. Tim Curry was in the show. And that's a really good episode.
I was like, is this Tim Curry? Oh, of course it is.
And I was like, oh yeah. I thought it was somebody doing a Tim Curry impression.
Yeah.
Then I was like, oh no, that's just actually
Then
Tim
he
Curry.
got like especially gargly. Is Dr. Mystico?
Dr. Mystico. Island of Dr. Mystico. Which is a really great episode because it has like all the villains just kind of like stranded on the island together with this freak. It's really fun.
So basically watch this cartoon.
Yeah, like you really should. I mean, we're talking about it because we don't know how many people have actually watched it, and we think that you should watch it because it is so funny. Like, it is the funniest thing. We've said that a billion times already. There's an Astro Boy character.
I must succeed!
I must succeed!
Yeah, again, just like shit that they were watching.
Just whatever.
Like Astro Boy, if he was completely ineffectual.
Yeah,
And, like, he just throws a tantrum and like wails his arms like ah, like
it's Freakazoid's favorite show.
I'm gonna do my my favorite bit, which it was a Cosgrove line in the episode Virtual Freak where they go inside a video game.
Oh,
and
yeah.
at the point in which Freakazoid's picked up by the virtual pterodactyl, Cosgrove was responding with, "This wouldn't have happened if you were paying attention instead of doing your little skits." That's my favorite line in the show. I think that's all we have to say about Freakazoid.
Yeah, I think we did it justice.
Much as we could.
Definitely. I mean,
Kind of an impenetrable. In a way, it's sort of an
it is
impenetrable.
kind of impenetrable. You trust me.
Or at least inexplicable.
Nothing we have said will prepare you for what's in store when you sit down and watch this stupid, amazing, wonderful show.
Yeah. As far as I know, it's not available for legal streaming anywhere. Maybe Amazon Prime, because they have a lot of those old Warner Brothers shows, but I don't think so. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I don't think so.